It is April 2020 and we are in the middle of a quarantine. How has coronavirus affected housing? Should I wait to sell my house? Is now a good time to buy a house? What is the average cost of a house in Dane County right now? Let's find out what the facts say about the Dane County housing market. Stay tuned. So it's April 2020. How has coronavirus affected the housing market? What are the latest numbers for Dane County housing since this coronavirus hit? Let's find out. I'm Kelly Doyle with Kelly Doyle Homes and Realty Executives, and we're going to be diving into the most updated information we have for Dane County, and that includes January, February, and March of 2020. So let's dive in. First off, to find out, we're just going to compare March of 2019 compared to March of 2020 and just take the 1 month snapshot to see how this March compared to last March. And so if you look at median price actually rose substantially. There was an increase of 7.1% in the median price from March of 2019 to this March 2020. The median price last year was $280 and it increased to $299,950. So that's a pretty steep rise there. As far as the number of home sales, again, just looking at March from 2019 compared to this March 2020, we also saw an increase there. The number of sales increased by 6.4%. That's great to see. It was 547 sales last year, and that jumped to 582 sales this year. Months of inventory varies amongst all price ranges, and if you look at the different price ranges, it's very interesting to see. And again, months of inventory is our way to calculate the demand. There is so many months supply on the market at any given moment, and you calculate that by figuring out how many homes are selling each month, how many homes are currently available, and then how many months it would take if no new listings came on the market and the pace at that homes have been selling remained the same. How many months would it take all the inventory to sell? And so that's what we use to calculate months of inventory. So anything under 6 months of inventory is what we call a seller's market. It means that there is more demand and not enough inventory for all the demand that's there. 6 months of inventory is what we call about a balanced market, and anything over 6 months of inventory is a buyer's market, which would be the opposite. There would be more supply and less demand. And so let's just look at it kind of broken down into price point as far as months of inventory. If you're just looking at Dane County, if you look at the price range from $200,000 to $350,000, when these numbers were released, the months of inventory was 1 month of inventory for that particular price range. So significantly under that 6 month mark, which means a very strong seller's market for that price point. If you look at the price point, $350,000 up to $500,000, so a little higher price point there. The months of inventory still very low, but it does bump up just slightly at 2.3 months of inventory. So again, still under 6 months, still a seller's market there as well. And if you look for homes priced over $500,000, then that jumps to about 4.3 months of inventory. So starting to creep toward a balanced market, but still under 6 months and still a seller's market for those price of homes. For homes under $200,000, the month supply is still about 1 month to even under a month of supply of inventory. So just a lot of demand out there, and just basically 6 months and less is basically over through the board on all price points as far as how many months it would actually take for everything in that price range to sell. So very strong seller's market that we're in. Let's bring it back to year-to-date numbers. So we looked at the difference between last March compared to this March. Let's jump in and look at last year, 2018, January through March, compared to this year, 2020, January through March. If you look at, again, just Dane County, the median price rose, again, looking at all those 3 months, 5.2%. And so last year, 2019, the median price was $277,900. This year, it was $292,250. So that was a 5.2% increase in the median price for January through March last year compared to January through March this year. Look at year-to-date sales. This year, again, we're up again in the number of sales. So even though coronavirus and the Safer at Home order went into effect the end of March, I believe it was March 25th, that it actually went into effect here in Wisconsin, you know, how much have these numbers been affected at this point, just looking through March. April will be very interesting to see. However, let's just finish with January through March here. So the number of sales did increase as well, and that went up 3.6% compared to 2019, compared to 2020. There was 1,311 sales at that time last year compared to 1,358 sales this year. And so prices increased, the number of sales increased, months of inventory is still very tight, showing that demand is still there. However, we are only able to look at January through March. And so April numbers will be quite interesting. However, you know, the demand is still there. And so even though closings can take between 30 to 60 days from when people are writing offers and getting accepted offers, it does show that those deals stayed together and that demand and those closings still did happen, even though the coronavirus and the safer at home order was in effect at that end of March time period. Lenders are still reporting great interest rates. The month of March, I think we saw a flux of about 3.2% interest rate to about 3.6, somewhere in there. Still amazing interest rates, and lenders are still seeing a huge surge in refinance activity out there. So while it's hard to predict what is going to happen in real estate, experts basically are stating that, you know, we haven't seen any significant changes yet. And the only thing that we have seen is that the number of new listings since the safer at home order was issued by our governor here in Wisconsin, Dane County has seen a drop in the number of new listings. And Dane County's listings went down about 11% since the safer at home order went into effect. And these changes could lead to decreased sales in April and going forward. If you have fewer listings in an already very tight, high demand market, and then you take those listings and you decrease them, it would be easy to assume that the number of sales then would also decrease. And so, you know, even though those numbers are going down a little bit with the number of new listings, with demand remaining high, experts are not anticipating that these reductions are going to be long-term and that they may actually result in a surge of activity when this crisis is over. And I can tell you that I am feeling that as well. I've had a lot of people reaching out and are itching to kind of start looking and get their house on the market. And I think a lot of people are just kind of waiting for the safer at home order to be lifted, and hopefully things can start to go back to normal. So is now a good time to sell a house? Demand is still there. And while we're seeing decreased activity, homes are still seeing multiple offers. Homes are still seeing strong offers. And so, yes, it is still a good time to sell. And should I wait to buy a house? We are seeing also that because there is decreased activity, that could open up opportunity for some buyers as well to maybe not experience that high level that we were seeing of competition, and maybe to take advantage of a little bit slower paced market for the time being. Again, once that safer home order is lifted, if that happens, you know, we could end up seeing a surge in activity and we could bounce back, and all the people that have been waiting could flood into the market again, possibly. So it might be a good opportunity for buyers to take advantage of that as well. So hopefully that answers your questions. I'm Kelly Doyle with Kelly Doyle Homes and Realty Executives. Thanks for checking out this monthly market update. And as always, please feel free to get in touch with me if you have any questions. And I'm more than happy to answer any of your questions about your neighborhood and your area and the numbers that are specific to you. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.